What's going on, everyone? TM24 here, and we are back with some more Marvel Snap content. Now, if you're just now finding the channel, welcome. I hope you find this video entertaining and informative, as we're talking about kind of a new spin on a couple of different decks here today. If you are a returning viewer, thank you for the continued support. I hope you find this deck, something worth giving a shot. But let's start talking about this Kitty Bolt deck that we put together here. So, what do we have going on, right? You see Kitty, you see Monkey, you see Bolt. We've kind of got a lot stuffed into this one deck, but we're going to break down all the cards and why they're in there and why I think this is actually a very, very good deck. We beat some really, really meta decks, things like the new High Evolutionary. We beat a discard, a MODOK discard. We beat just a bunch of good decks, and you'll see it here in the footage. But let's get rolling here, right? We've got 4 1-drops, but really that can scale all the way to 6 if you hit the right cards. Looking at these 4 true 1-drops, though, we've got Kitty Pryde, Nightcrawler, Zero, and Titania, right? Kitty Pryde, pretty standard, right? As the most amount of times you can play her, the better. So the more often she's coming down, buffing your Angela, buffing your Bishop, as in this case, the better she's going to be. She's going to scale. She is insane. Now we've got Nightcrawler in here for kind of one of 2 reasons, right? We'd love to be able to reach those lanes that we otherwise wouldn't be able to. And he will also help discount our Spider-Man, one of our other pseudo 1-drops here. We've got Zero and Titania, pretty standard 1-drops, both very, very strong. We love to Zero Titania if possible, but we don't mind just throwing Zero at the end of a turn 6 and just taking his 3 power, because it's going to be buffing our Hit Monkey, our Bishop, potentially our Angela if that's the lane we play on. Titania, 1/5, she's just pure strength. Nice to play on turn 6. A lot of the times you are going to be down, so there's no fear of her hopping over to your opponent's side, and you can kind of just rely on that, that 5 power. Now 2-drops, we've got 4 of them. Angela, very, very standard. We're trying to buff our Angela. You can see here she's already at 8. She's going to get all the way up to 10. Angela is absolutely insane. Probably one of the best 2-drops in the game, but that can be said about another one of these, at least in my opinion. Next, we've got Hit Monkey. Of course, we're holding Hit Monkey for turn 6, and probably only turn 6 in this deck. Now, I know Hit Monkey goes really well with Mystique. Sorry, not Mystique, Mysterio. And originally, we had him in this deck, but I was kind of running into board space problems, and I just didn't really feel like I was getting the full value out of him that I would have liked. And because we can have up to, 4 or 5 1-drops, we're kind of fine without Mysterio buffing our Hit Monkey. He's going to get large enough even without Mysterio powering him up. Goose, we've got Goose in here to kind of help give us a lane. All of our cards, or pretty much all of our cards, can be played on the Goose lane, minus Blackbolt potentially. Spider-Man and Stature without the discounts, but with them, you can play them on Goose. So we included Goose to kind of prevent our opponent from taking a lane that we really, really want to take. And then the other 2-drop, which I personally believe is one of the better ones in the game, is Jeff. And we've got him in here to reach those lanes we can't reach, to play him on lanes that might already be locked down by, Professor X, Spider-Man, things like that. And he also helps discount our Spider-Man, so tons of synergy there. Next up, our 3-drop is Bishop. He's the only one. I mean, we all know what Bishop does in these types of decks. He slowly builds throughout the game, eventually getting to a high power level, well worth his, 3 energy cost. Next up is our only 4-drop, and that's Spider-Man. And he's in this deck because we've got 2 different move cards that can help discount him and get him down to a 1/5. And if we can play that at any point in the game, it feels really, really strong, especially so on turn 6 if we can combine him with a Kitty Pryde, with a Hit Monkey, with potentially a Stature, Zero, Titania. All of a sudden, that extra 1/5 feels really, really good. And because it's cheap, it's really, really flexible. You can use him to go after a lane that you otherwise weren't targeting. Now, Stature and Blackbolt are the 2 5-drops. They kind of go hand in hand, right? by playing Blackbolt, you're going to get a 1-cost stature. Now, she's not as strong as she was before the nerf, but 1/6 is more than enough in most cases, which is why we've got stature here. Blackbolt, same thing, right? We're discarding one of their cards. Hopefully we hit something good. If not, we're still taking that discount on stature. So that's our deck, right? And obviously the goal is to play Kitty Pryde as often as you can. You'd love to get Angela down on 2, Bishop on 3, and then you just start playing your cards. You play in your Kitty Pryde over and over. You're playing your Nightcrawler, your Jeff. You want to get those down so that you can move them around and get that discount onto Spider-Man. And then hopefully you can play Blackbolt on 5 to get the discount on stature. So ultimately, you're trying to set up a huge turn 6. Ideally, it's Kitty Pryde, 1-cost stature, 1-cost Spider-Man, the 2-cost Hit Monkey, and then you can fit in a Zero or a Titania, something like that. But I've had a ton of fun playing this deck. Now that, we hit Infinite a while ago, so we're kind of experimenting and seeing what types of decks we can put together, and this one seems pretty strong. Even when things like Shang-Chi come through, we're still have enough power on that lane to get the dub. So I'll walk you through a couple of these games coming up here and just kind of talk about the choices we made, why we made them, and why I think you should give this deck a shot, and why I think you should subscribe if you haven't already. But let's get it right into this. The big house, that is perfect for this deck. Like I said, almost all of our cards are, 3 or less, or can be, except for Blackbolt. So the big house is great, and we've got our own big house in the form of Goose. So we love seeing that. We got our Kitty Pryde down on 1, on 2. Angela is perfect. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to drop Angela down, and it's, typically it's time to start buffing her. You can see here, I'm thinking about Jeff, but really I'd rather try and lock off Kamar-Taj if I can. So what do? We toss Goose there. Goose is going to be great. That should be a lane that we can win fairly easily. We've got a Spider-Man in our hand. We've got a Hit Monkey in our hand. That's a lane that we should own. We've already got one big house out there. This game should be easy. All we're doing now is starting to slowly build. Keep buffing up that Angela. Keep buffing up that Kitty Pryde. We even got Jeff down, knowing that we're going to want to move him coming up so that our Spider-Man, can be 1-cost as well. Our hand is looking pretty much perfect. Going into these last couple turns, I really couldn't ask for much more. We move our Jeff on over, we play Kitty Pryde again, and we float the rest of our energy because honestly, we just don't need to play anything else. We're setting ourselves up for a huge turn 6, and that's the goal. He tries to lock us out. Jeff can still get there. Jeff's there. They haven't won Oscorp. We probably already have the big house won, but that's not going to stop us from still going in. We play Zero, zeroing out our Titania. Kitty Pryde comes down, as does Hit Monkey, and we can still fit in a Spider-Man. Absolutely huge. They do end up playing on Oscorp. Really, they probably should have retreated knowing we had a full hand. We had Kitty Pryde that probably was going to be enough to take Kamar-Taj on her own, but we just had to show them what's up, playing the Titania and the Hit Monkey as well, and getting a big dub here over one of the most popular and strongest decks in the game right now. So that one worked out pretty much perfectly. Now we've got Kitty Pryde and we're contemplating Vibranium Mines. Honestly, we don't hate that. A 1/4 that we can play on turn 6, buffing up our Bishop, our Angela, potentially our Hit Monkey. We don't mind playing into the Vibranium Mines. We're going to buff up our Kitty Pryde as well. So we go ahead, we drop her in there and just kind of let the game start to come to us. We pick up stature as well. Really nice. We've got Blackbolt in hand already. So we're kind of set up here to have a really solid turn 2, turn 3, and we've probably got our turn 5 mapped out, depending on, what cards pop up into our hand here. We also hit a Spider-Man, which is good because we do have Nightcrawler in our hand. So we're going to play our Bishop on 3 so that he can start growing and hopefully give us a nice little lead in this lane, or at least a lane that we're already competing on and we don't have to worry too much. You can see here we're starting to go in. We're playing 3 different cards. Bishop's going to get a nice buff here. We get rid of that Widow's Bite. We do get Nightcrawler down, and we're adding some more mines to our deck because, again, we don't mind doing that. But here you go. Widow's Bite comes down, Nightcrawler comes down, as does Kitty Pryde, shuffling some more mines into our deck. But really, our hand is already looking really, really nice here. We've got Blackbolt down, and we are moving Nightcrawler. All of a sudden, Stature and Spider-Man are both going to be 1 cost. We've already got a 1 cost Kitty Pryde in our hand and a 0. So we've got 4 cards that we're going to be able to play next turn, all at 1 cost, and we haven't even drawn our last card. So we are in a really, really nice spot here. Our Bishop is, he's continuing to get buffed. Blackbolt is 7 power on his own. That's still really strong. And you can see here, we picked up a mine, which actually is pretty good. We've got now all 5 cards that we're going to go ahead and feel free to kind of just dump as we please. It's just a matter of picking the right locations. And honestly, we're kind of in a position where we can't really go wrong. We're going to attack that Angela. We are already up in Sacred Timeline and Vibranium Mines, and we're just going to continue to add power to these lanes. I mean, look at that. We're up at 13. We're up at, that's what, 18, 19 ultimately, and then an 11. Really, really tough for them to come back and win that. They do get a Hit Monkey down, but ultimately not going to be enough, and we get another big dub over a Bost. It looked like some sort of a bounce deck because they had Falcon in there, but ours is kind of a bounce deck. I mean, Kitty's bouncing, but hey, we end up getting the dub. Now this game here, we start off no 1-drops in our hand. A little bit disappointing because we do have 4 of them, so we'd love to have at least 1. Mojo World pops up. That's typically a good thing for us. In this case, we haven't committed there. We want to get Goose down. If we get a chance to take a second copy of Goose, that's what we are going to do, because again, Goose gives us a huge advantage. A Goose is kind of like an underrated carry in this deck, essentially locking down 1 lane. Now in this instance, Asgard pops up. We consider going Goose Kitty Pryde, but after thinking about it, we want to compete for Asgard, so we can go Angela Kitty Pryde. You've got flexibility with what you want to do here. And they played a couple into Mojo World, a Lockjaw and a Wasp. Really solid play from them. Again, they're using the high evolutionary style deck. He is everywhere right now, and this just shows that this deck can compete at that same level. We get Bishop and Kitty Pryde down onto that Angela lane as well. Angela's going to continue to be buffed up, and I would find it really hard to believe they're going to be able to take Asgard from us, and ultimately they don't even go for it. We ended up with 10 power there by turn 4. They played only into Mojo World. They do get a Thor, which is a really solid pickup there, but we do pick up two cards. Kitty Pryde pops back into our hand. A little bit tough just because we don't draw a card then, but not a big deal. Now, we've got decisions to make here. We can either go kind of all in. We can play Blackbolt, hoping that we hit our Stature, and that's what we ultimately end up doing. Playing Blackbolt, 7 power, again, really strong. Play it onto that Angela lane. We're up at 18 power. They play a Jane, so they're going to get that Mjolnir, but we get a little bit lucky here. We hit Stature, and now it's time to go in and make sure we get this win. So Stature's going to come down, Kitty Pryde's going to come down. We've got Hit Monkey ready to go. We're just trying to decide how we want to do this. We consider going all in on Mojo World as well, thinking maybe they don't play there, but with having Lockjaw and Mjolnir, I feel that they are probably going to play on that lane. So why even bother? We can just go after Asgard and the cloning vats. Stature, 0, Kitty Pryde, Hit Monkey, all come down. They do play into Mojo World, so I'm glad we kind of stayed away from it. Our 0 comes out as well, hitting our Kitty Pryde. Again, not a bad target. Not going to do anything. Hit Monkey comes down, puts us up at 15. They did play a Hulk into the Jane Foster Thor lane, but it ultimately doesn't matter. We're up at 30 power there. 15, 13 after the Wasp does its thing, but again, we get another big win, take down a really, really strong deck. I think this might be the last one here I got for you. Mir Island is awesome, right? Our Kitty Pryde can come down, take advantage of that +1, and continue to get her buff as she comes back. So we feel really, really good about that. But on to, if we can get Angela down, we try to. We want to give her time to grow, and having Kitty Pryde in our hand, and actually Jeff in our hand as well, we can feel free to kind of just go all in and take advantage of Muir Island, and that's what we're doing. Angela's down, Kitty Pryde comes down, Jeff comes down. All of them are going to take advantage of Muir Island and start to grow. Our opponent snaps, which is a little bit odd, because they saw that we had Kitty Pryde. Quantum Realm is a little bit tough for us. You know, we could play Jeff there. They do end up storming, which is actually a really solid play for them. And now we've got a decision to make. Either we go after Storm, or we can wait. Because Jeff can move, we're not really in a big rush. We can always go after the flooding kind of at a later date. And that's what we're thinking. We're thinking, go ahead, you can have flooding. If you don't play anything there, I may just come for it with Jeff, and there's nothing that they can do about that. Jeff's going to continue to grow. Angela grows. Kitty Pryde grows double thanks to Muir Island and her effect. And now is time. It's turn 5. It's time to go in. We've got Jeff. We're going to move him over so that our Spider-Man costs 1. And we're still going to play, well, we were thinking about Blackbolt, but now we're thinking Bishop. It's tough because you've got decisions that you can make. I like to go kind of all in on that last turn. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to play Blackbolt into that Muir Island lane. They play MODOK. They played pretty much their standard discard deck and played it pretty perfect, honestly. They hit swarms. We even helped them out discarding some swarms. But right now we're tied in Muir Island. We are winning flooded. Quantum Realm is probably lost at this point because we know that they've got Dracula and an Apocalypse coming. But ultimately, it's not a big deal. We can get Kitty Pryde down. We can get Hitmonkey down, Stature, Titania, Spider-Man. We get to play all of them, and that's exactly what this deck wants to do. Play as many cards as we can on that turn 6, buffing that Hitmonkey. Kitty Pryde is already 9 power, and if the realm didn't come through, we would have put 5, 11, 16 power into the Quantum Realm in one lane. So absolutely nuts. They do come through with a Chavez and a Swarm, but they are still way off. We're up at 41. We're at 5 in flooded. Jeff doing his job, sliding over and taking that lane. They do hit the Apocalypse, but ultimately it doesn't matter. I'm telling you, this deck can do some damage. Look at that. That's absolutely insane. All right, so just a couple final words about this deck. This Kitty Monkey Bolt. We kind of smushed together a few different decks, but I'm really liking where it's at. It definitely had a little bit of a learning curve, remembering to move your Nightcrawler, to move your Jeff, and make sure you get those discounts when you need them. But hey, this is a strong one. I think this has some serious potential to do some damage. You saw we took out a bunch of strong decks, so if you've got these cards, give it a shot. And if you've hung around till now, now's a really good time to go ahead and hit that subscribe and like button if you haven't already. But until next time, have some fun.